What you're looking at right now is a perfect example of what happens when orchid care goes completely off the rails. This poor plant didn't wake up one morning and decide to cosplay as a dying banana leaf. No. Something went very wrong along the way. The biggest red flag is right here at the crown, the point where all the leaves meet the stem. When that area starts turning yellow, dark, and suspiciously mushy, you're not looking at a simple bad day. You're looking at crown rot. And crown rot happens for a very simple reason. Water gets trapped between the leaves, sits there like an uninvited guest, and just refuses to leave. Over time, that tiny puddle becomes the perfect vacation resort for bacteria and fungi. And once they move in, they start rotting the plant from the center outward. But the crown isn't the only thing screaming for help here. Those large yellow and brown patches across the leaves, those could mean the plant took a little too much sunlight to the face. Orchids like light, sure, but direct sun can scorch their leaves faster than you can say photosynthesis gone wrong. And if it's not sunburn, then there's another possibility. Bacterial or fungal infections can spread across the foliage, creating those ugly yellow and brown scars as the tissue slowly breaks down. Now here's the good news. This situation might look like the botanical equivalent of a disaster movie, but it's not game over just yet. Orchids are surprisingly stubborn plants. And as long as some part of the plant is still capable of growing, there's still a chance to save the entire operation. Because unlike a lot of houseplants that immediately surrender the moment things go wrong, orchids have a bit of a survival complex. If even one healthy section remains, the plant can sometimes rebuild itself from that tiny surviving piece. And in this particular case, that one piece might be just a single surviving leaf. It doesn't look like much, sure, but that leaf is still connected to living tissue, and living tissue means the plant still has the ability to produce new growth. So as long as you can salvage that healthy portion, remove the rotting sections, and stop whatever caused the problem in the first place, the orchid still has a fighting chance to recover and continue growing. The next step in this operation is giving the entire plant a nice, thorough wash. And I'm not talking about a polite little sprinkle like you're blessing it with holy water. I mean an actual rinse. Because right now this orchid has been through the botanical equivalent of a bar fight. There could be bacteria, fungal spores, and all kinds of microscopic freeloaders hanging around the damaged tissue. So what we want to do here is rinse the plant carefully but thoroughly, washing away debris, rot residue, and anything else that might try to keep the infection going. And now we move on to one of the most unexpected tools in this entire rescue mission. Something you probably already have sitting in your kitchen right now. Baking soda. Yeah, the same stuff people use for baking cookies, cleaning sinks, and occasionally committing culinary crimes. Turns out it can also be part of a basic plant care solution, because baking soda has mild antifungal properties, which means it can help create an environment that's a lot less welcoming for fungi trying to take advantage of damaged plant tissue. And the best part, the recipe is almost stupidly simple. All you need is a spoonful of baking soda. Now, this next step is where things get a little risky, but sometimes in plant rescue operations, you have to make decisions that feel slightly illegal in the world of gardening. Because what we're about to do is rinse the remaining leaf inside that baking soda solution. And yes, this sounds a little questionable at first, but the goal here is to let the solution reach the surface of the leaf and help suppress any lingering fungal activity. But timing is important here. While that leaf is sitting in the solution, we're also going to prepare something for the next stage of the rescue operation. And that means grabbing a handful of moss, because later on, that moss is going to act like a temporary life support system for whatever part of the orchid we manage to save. So instead of leaving it bone dry, we're going to soak the moss as well. Not drowning it like you're trying to start a swamp ecosystem. Just enough moisture so the fibers absorb water and become evenly damp. While we wait for the timer to finish, we can start preparing the main solution for today's treatment. And the first ingredient might sound like we're about to cook dinner instead of saving a plant, because we're starting with garlic. Yes, garlic. The same legendary bulb that has terrified vampires and flavored half the food on this planet also happens to contain natural antimicrobial compounds. So the first step is simple. Grab a clove and cut into small, workable pieces. Nothing fancy here. We're just increasing the surface area so the useful compounds can release more easily into the solution. Now, take those chopped garlic pieces and load them into a container. Nothing fancy is required here, just something clean that can hold the mixture. Because we're about to add the next ingredient to this surprisingly strange little recipe. And that ingredient is a few spoonfuls of uncooked rice. Yeah, rice. At first glance, it looks like we accidentally wandered into a cooking tutorial. But the rice helps release starches into the water, creating a mild, nutrient-rich solution that can support plant recovery. So toss in a few spoonfuls, then go ahead and fill the container with water. At this point, you've got garlic, rice, and water all sitting together in the same container, which sounds like the beginning of a soup recipe, but in reality, it's the foundation of today's treatment solution. After the 10 minutes are up, it's time to move quickly. Carefully take the leaf out of the baking soda solution, and don't let it sit in there any longer than necessary. Remember, the goal was a short treatment, not a permanent swimming lesson for the plant. So once the timer hits 10 minutes, the leaf comes out. From here, we simply let it dry for the time being. No rushing, no blasting it with heat. Just give the surface time to air dry, so any remaining moisture from the solution can evaporate naturally. This step is important, because before the plant moves on to the next phase of recovery, we want the leaf surface to stabilize and settle down after the treatment. So for now, we let it rest, we let it dry. At the same time, we're going to do the exact same cleanup with our garlic and rice mixture. Because right now the container is full of floating chunks, grains, and things that definitely do not belong in the final solution. So the next step is simple. Strain everything out. Now comes another rinse, but this time the process is a little more controlled. Instead of soaking the entire leaf again, we're only going to treat half of it. And yes, that's intentional. By treating only part of the leaf, we reduce the overall stress on the plant while still allowing the solution to reach the area that may need the most help. So gently place half of the leaf into the solution. And this time the waiting period is a bit shorter. Somewhere around 5 to 8 minutes is more than enough. Not 10 minutes like before. Not a full bath either. Just a partial rinse that lets the treatment do its job without overwhelming the plant tissue. And once those 5 minutes are up, it's time to pull the leaf back out of the solution. No hesitation here. The treatment window is short for a reason. After that, gently clean the leaf and let it dry. You don't need it bone dry like it just survived a desert expedition, but you also don't want it dripping wet either. The goal here is dry, or at the very least lightly moist. Just enough so the surface isn't soaked, while still keeping the tissue comfortable and stable. And now we arrive at the final step before we let the plant attempt its comeback. After all the rinsing, soaking, and botanical surgery, there's just one more thing left to do. we're going to apply a small amount of cinnamon to the trimmed area. Yes, the same cinnamon that normally ends up on pastries and desserts. But in the plant world, cinnamon is surprisingly useful because it has natural antifungal properties. So with just a light sprinkle, gently cover the area where the plant was trimmed, not a mountain of it. We're not breading a chicken cutlet here, just enough to coat the wound and help keep unwanted fungi from settling in while the plant heals. Think of it as the orchid version of sealing a wound. A simple protective layer that helps the plant recover without inviting new infections. And once that's done, the operation is officially compel. Now remember that moss we soaked earlier, the one that's been quietly waiting this whole time? Good, because now it's finally time for it to do its job. What we're about to build here is basically a tiny greenhouse for the leaf. A temporary one, nothing fancy, but just enough to give this little survivor the environment it needs to recover. Take that damp moss and place it inside a small container, spreading it out so it forms a soft, moist base. Not dripping wet, not swamp territory, just nicely moist. Then place the leaf on top of the moss, letting it rest in that humid environment without being buried or suffocated. What this setup does is trap a bit of moisture in the air around the leaf, creating a stable, humid microclimate. And for a stressed orchid that just went through a full rescue operation, that humidity can make a huge difference. So once everything is in place, cover the container, and just like that, you've built a temporary greenhouse. Before we seal everything up, we're going to give the setup one last bit of support. Grab a spray bottle and give the moss a light mist. Not a rainstorm, not a monsoon. Just a gentle spray to make sure the moss stays evenly moist, because inside this tiny setup, moisture is going to be the lifeline that keeps the environment stable while the leaf tries to recover. Once the moss is lightly misted, it's time to close the greenhouse. But here's the important part. We're not sealing it airtight. Instead, cover the top with something that has small holes in it. This allows a bit of airflow while still keeping most of the humidity trapped inside. Too sealed, and you risk turning the whole thing into a fungal nightclub. Too open, and the moisture escapes before it can help the plant. Fast forward about 4 weeks, and this is where things start getting interesting. Because if everything inside that tiny greenhouse has been working the way it should, the plant will start showing the first real signs of recovery. At first it might be subtle. Nothing dramatic, nothing explosive. Just tiny changes that tell you the orchid is slowly waking back up after everything it's been through. And the most obvious sign you want to look for is roots forming. They usually start small, little pale bumps or nubs pushing out from the base of the leaf. At first they can be so tiny you might miss them if you're not paying attention. But make no mistake, those tiny bumps are a very big deal. Because once roots begin to form, the plant is actively rebuilding the system it uses to absorb water and nutrients. Think of it like the orchid rebuilding its life support network, one root at a time. Remember, this entire rescue operation started with almost nothing, just a single surviving leaf that managed to escape the rot. Now, once that leaf, or at this point the new baby plant, has started forming a proper base with healthy roots, it's finally time to move it out of the tiny recovery chamber. Because the temporary greenhouse did its job. It helped the plant stabilize and rebuild the very first parts of its root system. But orchids can't live in a moss hospital forever. So the next step is giving this little survivor a real home. And that means preparing a pot. Nothing overly complicated here. Just a small container that allows air to move around the roots. Orchids are not normal houseplants. They like their roots breathing, not suffocating in wet soil. To start, grab a handful of pine bark and place it inside the pot. Pine bark works well because it stays airy, drains quickly, and gives orchid roots the space they need to grow properly. Think of it less like planting something in dirt, and more like building a loose support structure for the roots to settle into. Once that base layer of bark is in place, the plant can be positioned gently on top, allowing those new roots to spread naturally into their new environment. Because after everything this orchid has survived, the last thing we want to do is crush those fragile new roots. With the plant now sitting comfortably in its new pot, we're almost done here. But before we call this rescue mission complete, there's one final finishing touch that can make a big difference. Grab a small handful of moss and gently place it around the base of the plant, not packing it down like you're insulating a house, just laying it loosely on top of the bark. What this moss does is help hold a bit of moisture around the roots while the plant continues adjusting to its new home. And one last thing before we leave this little survivor alone to do its thing. We're going to keep the environment slightly moist, not soaking wet, not swamp conditions, just enough moisture so the roots and moss don't completely dry out. Because at this stage, the plant is still young, still adjusting, and those new roots are not ready to handle extreme dryness yet. So every now and then, give the moss a light mist to keep everything gently hydrated. Think of it like maintaining a comfortable climate. Not too dry, not too wet, just the kind of balanced environment that helps a recovering orchid continue building strength. And there you have it, from a plant that was basically on the brink of logging out to a tiny comeback story built from a single stubborn leaf. What started as crown rot, infection, and a botanical disaster slowly turned into new roots, a fresh base, and a second chance at life. And honestly, that's one of the coolest things about orchids. These plants have survived millions of years of chaos on this planet. So giving up after one bad mistake is simply not in their programming. So with a little patience, a few household ingredients, and a slightly ridiculous rescue operation, you can take something that looked completely finished and turn it back into a living plant. Now, if you found this helpful, or if you just watched an entire orchid surgery and thought, that was weirdly satisfying, then you might want to stick around, because there's plenty more plant chaos, orchid experiments, and questionable gardening science coming in future videos. So feel free to hit that like button, consider subscribing, and join me next time, where we continue proving that orchids are either incredibly resilient plants or tiny green wizards pretending to be flowers. Either way, I'll see you in the next one.